Hello guys, in our previous module we assumed that the IP address of our Kali Linux is static. But if the IP address has changed, then we don't have any built-in mechanism to inform our target that it should connect to the new IP address. One of the methods which we're gonna discuss today is dynamic DNS. Dynamic DNS is a method where you can reserve a unique name on your DNS server. While the reserved name is fixed, the correlated IP address is going to change each time you change your public IP address. In this demonstration, I will be using noip.com. Noip.com provides a free dynamic DNS service. Now, once you set up an account, you can preserve your own DNS name. Now, for this demonstration, I just created a DNS name called pythonhussam.ddns.net. So in our client or our target, instead of hard coding the IP address of Kali Linux, we will simply do a DNS lookup to this domain, and then we will retrieve the IP address to make the connection happens. Okay, now you might be asking, when the attacker IP address changes, how noip.com will know the new IP address to update their DNS record? This happens when a software agent is installed on our Kali Linux. And this agent will connect to noip.com servers, and it will update the DNS record automatically with our new IP address. Now, to save your time, I want you to create a free account on noip.com. It should be very straightforward. Then you can reserve a name of your own choice. Okay, so right now I am inside the login portal for noip.com, and as you can see, my dynamic DNS name or DNS name is pointing to the Kali Linux private IP address. Now in real world, you need to make sure that this domain is pointing to the public IP address. I just made it here as a private IP address just to show you the idea. So let's start with installing the noip agent on Kali Linux, and then we will update our code in the TCP reverse shell. So if we just go to Google, so we can find the steps really quick, and if you type noip.com and then how to install the Linux client. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up the second one, to install Linux dynamic client on Ubuntu. And then these are the steps. I will just simply copy and paste. And before doing that, please make sure that your Kali Linux is connected to the internet, because it's gonna download that agent. So let's do paste, and then click on make install. Now it's gonna ask you to enter the login and email address that you registered with noip. So I will type my email, 321@gmail.com, and then the password. Okay, I will keep everything as default, and that's it. As you can see, that a new configuration file has been created, and this is all what we need to do on the Kali side. Right now, let's jump to the client side, to the Windows side, and update our code. Okay, so right now I am on the client side, and this is our TCP reverse shell. So before calling the connect or connecting function, we just need to do the simple DNS, and it's pretty straightforward in Linux. I will just use IP, then socket, and to do that we need to call the function which is get host by name. So get host by name. Okay, and then we need to pass the domain that we want to do the lookup, and the domain is pythonhussam.ddns.net. Let me close the parentheses. Okay, so right now the IP variable contains the IP address. After we do a DNS lookup for that, all what we need to do is to pass this IP address to the connecting function, and then also receive it here. And final step, instead of hard coding the IP address of Kali Linux, we just replace it with this variable. So let me just save this and go back to the Kali Linux, make sure that we are listening on port 8080, and if everything is working fine, so we should be able to connect to the Kali Linux. And as you can see, we were able to connect to the Kali Linux after making a successful DNS lookup to our name. Okay guys, I hope that this lecture has been informative for you, and thanks for watching.